A mere day out from the premiere of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, coming out on Friday, December 20th. Going to be a great movie. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I haven't heard the best of things, but we're talking all about Star Wars here today on WrestleRant Radio, and some TLC talk too. We're about 4 or 5 days removed from the pay-per-view on Sunday, the best, the worst of the show, the final pay-per-view of the decade. But for the first time in a while, we got a 3-ring call going on here for the first time in some time. JCD back here on WrestleRant Radio, and as this episode goes up on December 19th, if I'm correct, isn't today your birthday, John, on December 19th?
Yes, it is.
So, celebrating the birthday, seeing Star Wars on Friday, or do you have other plans to see it another day?
I'm going on Friday with my son. Normally, I would go to like the late night showing,
Yeah.
but this is going to be the first time my son's going to come with me, so I wasn't going to take him to an 11 o'clock show. So we're going 5 o'clock on Friday.
That's perfect. To get it out of the way early. That's awesome. How old's your son now?
Yep. He's 6.5 now.
Jesus. I remember you were telling me about your son a couple of years ago when he was just 3 years old. That's nuts, dude.
Yep.
That is some crazy shit. So hopefully you guys enjoy the movie. David, we got you on the line for the first time in a while. I know you used to call into the Spoilers podcast back in the day, way back when, many, many years ago. So our first time chatting here on the phone in several years. Your first time here on WrestleRant Radio. But yeah, David, welcome to the show. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing great, man. Just taking a walk back home from the gym. That's about it.
Good shit. Off, so. I had no idea when I called you that you were from the California area. That's crazy. I always thought you were on the East Coast. I've known you. I've been following you on Twitter for years now. I always thought you were on the East Coast.
Yeah, I'm a West Coast guy. I'm out here in Los Angeles County.
That's so funny. We got two opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm obviously from Connecticut, but John's from New York, and you're from California, which is nuts. But good shit. Good shit. Do you have any anticipation of going to see Star Wars on Friday or some other point this weekend?
I'm actually going to catch it tomorrow morning, I believe.
Nice, okay.
Morning, then for sure, like at nighttime. I'm
so
for sure going to see it tomorrow, though.
On Thursday morning?
Is it Thursday morning, or?
I think.
Yeah, they're actually releasing it out here, I think, around Thursday night.
Okay.
I think they had a showing in the morning, last I checked.
Oh, nice.
Well,
that's cool.
I'm likely going to catch it at night, so.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, either way, it should be a fun time regardless. But before we go any further, of course, people could check out new episodes of the show every single Thursday. Had to get you guys on the Thursday before the big premiere. I know we've been talking about this for a while. We've been discussing Marvel-themed stuff in the DMs for quite some time now. And hopefully we can do another podcast like this come the release of Black Widow or whatever the hell the next movie might be. I think isn't there only one Marvel movie in 2020 and it's Black Widow? Is that correct?
I believe it's Black Widow and maybe the Eternals. I need to double check on that.
Yeah, is that right, John, or no?
I think he's right, but don't hold me to that. So it'll be 100% either, because I know Thor's 2021.
Yeah.
I think, and then I think Spider-Man's 22, and you know what though? Supposedly they're going to announce one of the first big Fox acquisition. Supposedly they're going to announce that early January, so who knows where that's going to fall. But I think as far as like what's on the docket now, yeah, I think you guys are right. I think it's Black Widow, then it's Eternals, and then it's, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be everything else is going to drop on Disney Plus.
Oh, 100%. I think everything. I'm not sure when the first show on Disney Plus drops. It might be in the fall. Isn't it the Falcon and Winter Soldier show?
WandaVision, I believe.
Oh, yeah. WandaVision next year?
I think late 2020, because I know Falcon, Winter Soldier, and all that stuff's like 2021 and up.
Oh, okay.
I think that stuff's just finishing up filming. Mm-hmm. A lot of that stuff. A lot of that stuff got announced, but they didn't film any of it.
Okay.
So yeah, I think David. It's going to be after Mando ends in 2 weeks. I think it's going to be a little bit of a gap before we really get any of the juicy stuff that I know the three of us are into.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to this. This was a big year for movies between, obviously Rise of Skywalker coming out Friday, but we had Endgame earlier this year, Captain Marvel a couple months before that, Spider-Man Far From Home in July. It's weird to go from so many movies coming out in one calendar year to like nothing in 2020, aside from Black Widow in May, which has been a long time in the works now. It feels like there's no Star Wars movies. You said Mando's wrapping up, and that's it. What was that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a prequel at the end of the day. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I was never a big Fast franchise guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is there? Fast 9, Fast 10, something like that?
Something like that. I have no idea.
I think that's coming, but, I mean, that was never my cup of tea. I mean, I guess the other big thing is, depending on where you stand with it, would be, what is it, Wonder Woman 1984 or something?
Yes.
I guess that would be,
That looks very good.
you know, your other big, attraction movie for next year. But as far as anything from, like, this genre ever, we're about to hit a little bit of a dry spell. We've been spoiled. I mean, okay, the last Star Wars movie came out before the new prequel came out was 2005.
Yeah.
Correct.
Then you had, what was it? Iron Man 1 was in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've had multiple movies since then, pretty much every year, between your Captain America, your Thor, your Iron Man 2, whatever. Everything's building up to Endgame. And then even with the 2 years in between the trilogy movies, you had Rogue One, you had Solo. After this weekend, we're hitting a dry spell for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think in the big picture, that's where the fact that Kenobi's not going to be a movie, I think, kind of stings a little. In the sense that, okay. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
No worries.
It's great that it'll be a series because there'll be more of it. It stinks that it's going to be a series because that's not a movie to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Right.
you would think coming out of Solo, okay, we're probably tying into the Kenobi movie. And even the end of Solo, maybe they're going to do Solo 2 because, with the Jabba the Hutt, tease that line at the end, he mentioned this guy on Tatooine, big game stuff, whatever. You would think that was your Jabba the Hutt tease, so you would think that would have left, set the tone for, do we get the Jabba the Hutt movie, with Solo, whereas it shows what exactly went, south between the two of them, or something like that. And when, they announced, they're not going to do Solo 2, and I was like, shit, well, after December 2019, what is there?
Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
But,
I mean, I'm in the boat that I think Solo was a lot better than it got credit for. I always thought Solo took the bullet because of how many people were pissed at the direction Last Jedi went.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first one, and it came out so quick after. It wasn't even in the winter. It came out that May.
Yep.
And I think that was just going to, I think whatever movie would have came out Star Wars-wise in that Solo spot was going to pay for people's anger about Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. It definitely took the brunt a lot of the backlash that movie got. I wasn't a fan of it personally. I didn't mind Last Jedi, and we'll get to Last Jedi and all that other talk in a second. But David, what were your thoughts on Solo when it came out last year? I wasn't a big fan of it. John obviously liked it a little bit. What were your thoughts on Solo?
like the same. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it or I didn't hate it. I just kind of saw it in the middle. I know it killed whatever chances there were of like Lando and everything else going forward.
Mm-hmm.
All that basically got pulled because of it. But for the most part, it didn't really bug me all that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seemed to be very divisive, a lot like Last Jedi, where people either really, really liked it or they just really, really hated it. I mean, I guess you could say the same for most of the movies that have come out since The Force Awakens came out a couple years ago. But it's crazy to see just the reaction to some of these movies compared to, and we're fans of both franchises, this and Marvel, but compared to Marvel is usually positive for the most part. But then you look at the Star Wars movies and it seems like the reaction is almost always negative, It's crazy.
Yeah. Solo deserves better than what it got. I'm not saying it's great.
Yeah.
But like I said, and I have a buddy who was so turned off by The Last Jedi, thought Johnson pissed and shitted on his childhood, went to go see Solo. I don't even think he was out of the movie theater 30 seconds, texted me that he hated it. And I knew why he hated it. He didn't hate it because he hated it. He hated it because he didn't he didn't like The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him when it came out, I said, do me a favor. I said, go back and watch. Do me a favor. Go back and watch Solo again. You know, and then tell me what you think. And when he went back and watched it, back whenever it came out on digital, that October, that November, whatever, he admitted to me, he's like, you know what? He's like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was coming out of the movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, it wasn't terrible. Because at the end of the day, if you really think about it, they covered, like I said, other than Jabba the Hutt, if you think about it, they covered every piece of possible story with Han Solo.
Mm-hmm.
That needed to be covered. Like there's that line in Empire with Lando when he first shows up at Cloud City. You got a lot of nerve coming back here after what you pulled. Okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
No, I'm being serious. Like, what does what you pulled? What does that mean? What did he do? And the fact that you see the end that he basically, stole the Falcon from, even in Return of the Jedi. Oh, that's my ship. No, it's not. It's mine.
Mm-hmm.
That little back and forth about the Falcon before Han goes to Endor and Lando's going to lead that mission. What is that about? What makes that dynamic there? And I felt Solo did a good job of telling that. There's even a line.
It covered a lot of plot holes. Basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. When they're in the Falcon at one point, I think it's during Empire, C-3PO goes, there's a language on here. He's hooked up to the Falcon, and he's like, there's a language on here I can't even figure out. It was what's-her-face? Whatever the hell her name was.
Yeah, whatever her name was. Yeah.
And I thought they did a great job of piecing together, all those little pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah. It was pretty...
What it was. Was it the best of the franchise? No. But was it the biggest piece of shit ever? No, definitely not.
Yeah, it definitely was not as bad as people made it out to be. Though there was that one part that I popped when I saw it, but I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. When Darth Maul showed up, now obviously I know the back history there with, he resurfaced in was it Rebels or Clone Wars? It was Rebels, right?
It's both.
That was Clone Wars, yeah.
He's been on both.
Yeah. Okay, he's been on both, but he first showed up in Clone Wars, right? Was that when he came back?
Wars, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when he first came back, so I knew he was still alive and whatever, but it just felt really random for an appearance they probably won't pay off to. Like, I don't see that really playing into anything in the next movie, in Rise of Skywalker, because he died in Rebels.
It paid off more in Clone Wars and especially Rebels.
Okay.
That's what it was like, he paid, his arc comes full circle in Rebels, and I think this was just going to be a piece of it, and I think if they would have done another movie with him in it, I think you would have gotten more of the backstory about how he came back, how he got the robotic leg, why is he so, well, it's understandable why he's pissed at the Empire as well, even though he's a Sith Lord, because he was pretty much used as a pawn, and, that wasn't cool for him. So, I mean, it was random, but, I think at the time there were bigger plans in play, and they just got the plug pulled off. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Well, do you think that we see him again?
I agree.
Do you think we see him again in the second Solo movie if they go ahead of the second Solo movie?
I heard he was supposed to be the jump to the Kenobi movie.
Oh, okay. That was my next question.
That's what I heard. Like this, you know what this was? This was the closest thing Star Wars was ever going to give you to a post-credit Marvel scene.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah. So I could see that coming into play with the Kenobi movie. When is that supposed to come out? Do you know? Is that supposed to come out in 2 years? Definitely.
It's not going to be a movie. It's going to be the Disney Plus series.
Oh, it's a show? I thought it was a movie.
It was
Originally,
supposed to be a movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they kiboshed it, and then at, what was that, Celebration or something? Or D23?
Yeah, recently, yeah.
they announced that it's going to be a series. I think that they signed that McGregor came out and he's going to be a part of it, and it's signed for.
Because I believe he didn't want to do. He didn't want to do the film apparently, and then they talked him in for the series, something like that.
Yeah,
That's
I think once they saw how bad Solo got, he kind of backed off because he didn't want like a bad Kenobi movie on his.
Yeah.
He didn't want to like kill the character like that, but then Kathleen Kennedy talked him into doing the series.
Well, it's smart, too, because so far The Mandalorian, which, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know the talk years ago was when they started announcing these spin-off movies from Rogue One and then Solo. Wasn't there supposed to be a movie on Boba Fett, too? Did they scrap that in favor of Mandalorian?
Everything and anything was on the table.
Yeah.
And then, no, they're not going to do a movie. And then it became the series, but it's not the Boba Fett series. It's, The Mandalorian, so it's, I don't know. Did you guys watch the episode today?
I was going to say, no, I found out. Oh, did you watch it, David?
It's awesome.
It was good? I found out yesterday it was coming out today as opposed to Friday, which is cool.
Not like a cliffhanger because there's one more episode, but it ended really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I still have to watch it.
I won't give any spoilers if you guys haven't seen it yet, but yeah.
I have.
Very, very well.
Yeah, no, I'm the only one that hasn't yet. I saw last night that it was getting dropped on Wednesday. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't plan for this, so I got to watch it when we're done with this conversation. But we'll start about the show real quick before we go any further. David, I'll start with you. What have your thoughts overall been on Mandalorian since it launched last month?
It's been great. I mean, I have really nothing bad to say about it. I mean, I know the timeline is after the original, so it's just based around not because, like I said, I think this was supposed to be originally Boba Fett, and then they decided to just kind of move the story on to like another Mandalorian. But aside from that, it's been good. I mean, I really have nothing bad to say about it. I mean, I've enjoyed. It's only 8 episodes, but the 7 I've seen, they've all been great.
Is it over after this next episode? Not the one that came out today, but next week or whenever the last episode airs. Is it like a mid-season finale?
2 more.
Oh, 2 more. Okay.
I think it goes.
I think it runs. It's 8 or 9. Yeah.
8 or 9. Okay, that's not that bad. Huh? Yeah, the show's been super solid so far.
Today was 7, so it either
7.
runs up to 8 or 9. I know it's not 10.
No. Okay. Wow, that's a short show. I thought it would last a lot longer than that. That's weird.
Yeah, apparently they already got the green light on the 2nd season. So
oh, okay.
They're working on that.
Huh, that's cool. Well, John, what have your thoughts been so far on Mandalorian?
I've loved it. I think it's fantastic. It's the best 35, 40 minutes, week of, it's been really good. You know what I like about it? They're not relying on the stuff
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just far enough away that if they need to pull something in, they can, if that makes any sense. Like, they'll mention the Empire, but you have not seen anybody, resemble what, anything to do with the Empire. But if they need
outside of the first episode, there's not a lot of mentions of it.
Yeah, like, they could turn around and just be like, all right, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to bring, whatever. We'll bring so-and-so on for a little bit of a joke,
Sure.
I like, and same thing, like, oh, they can address the rebels, but they're not really, addressing that they are around. But you know what? If we need to, we could bring, like a wedge for an episode, I think they've done a good, because a lot of shows like that, they'll rely on, all the big, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, we gotta bring this one to make an appearance, so we gotta constantly mention that one. I think they've done a good job of balancing everybody out.
Definitely.
And I think that's smart. You know. You
And
know.
I give a lot of
timeline,
credit to Jon
obviously.
Favreau for.
Oh, 100%.
You know,
Yeah,
you
he's
know
done
the
great.
timeline. You know who's around. You know what's not around. You know who's, whatever. But the fact that they're not beating it down your head every week, 8 or 9 times an episode, is great. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you who I really like on it. You know, and whatever. Hey, listen, whatever. It is what it is. You know, maybe I'm having a midlife crisis, but man, I love me some Gina Carano.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's been really good.
Dude, I agree with you 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of dig Gina Carano on there. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
I've always digged her, but ever since I saw her on Deadpool,
Yeah.
there's something with her.
Yes. Yep.
Was she on the latest episode today? Like I said, I haven't seen it, though, but I know she was on an episode a couple episodes ago, but I haven't seen her since, though.
She's. I think she's signed on, so you're gonna see more of her.
Okay.
You know, I think, so I wouldn't worry, but yeah, Gina Carano, good times.
Yeah, no, she's on the show. They have Bill Burr on the show, who made an appearance last week. I was like, wow,
Bill
that's.
Burr, yeah.
I was not expecting that, but it was something
A lot of people.
It was something I didn't know I wanted until it happened.
Child is the comedic moment I never knew I needed in my life until it happened.
What was the comedic moment?
When Bill Burr was talking to the child.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Did you guys happen to catch some of the uproar? Did you guys happen to catch some of the uproar he got about dropping Baby Yoda?
Oh, no, I did not
Oh,
see
yeah.
that.
Yeah, he got some hate for that. I was
Did he
reading
really?
some tweets the other day about it.
That's so
Yeah.
funny. Well, he was captured at the end of the last...
I have 2 kids, and I've been in and out of the malls, obviously, and the Disney store, and there is a level of hatred as to why they did not have the Baby Yoda merch out in time for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want to talk about this. We use this wrestling phrase all the time, printing money. That's what this thing would have been. I mean...
100%. I'm shocked, really, because I had read a rumor from somewhere that said that they didn't start producing the dolls, even though obviously they've known about it because the show's been in production for so long. They haven't started production on the dolls until after the show debuted because they didn't want to give away spoilers. Was it worth it or no? Because now they're not going to be out by Christmas.
Someone at the Disney store told me that.
Okay.
I asked them, I'm like, why wouldn't you guys be on top of it? And they said no. They agreed with me. They're like, but the word is they were afraid this thing was going to get out, that they felt it was more valuable to keep the secret than one Christmas of it when they know they can get that same pop on it when it finally releases after the new year, and then they'll get the same bump next holiday season. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Because a production photo would have leaked of that.
Yeah.
Hey, what's Favreau doing? So I kind of get that, to be honest.
That's crazy because Disney they're the kings of making money off all the merchandise. So the fact that they would sacrifice this big paycheck they would make from Christmas from these dolls is really amazing to me. I mean, that they're going to great lengths to keep a secret.
How important this thing is.
Yeah, you gotta
what
respect
it is,
that.
like,
But yeah, it's
It's good to know that. It's good to know that. It's something that they thought. It's good to know that went through their head, and they didn't just miss the opportunity because of being clueless.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
That does make sense. I can see them not wanting something like that to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that was the thought process, I'm sure, behind it.
And it paid off too, because when they showed Baby Yoda, it was huge.
Yeah, Baby Yoda's awesome.
It's been one of the best parts about the show so far. But the show has been really, really strong. Do you think with the show going on for the last 2 months, John, I'll start with you. Do you think this has gotten people more excited for the Rise of Skywalker? Just because before the show came out, at least from what I've seen, and maybe I'm coming from a totally different place, I hadn't really seen much hype for the movie at all. At least not the same amount of hype that we saw for Endgame.
I think it's actually done. I think it's kind of done the opposite because I've seen a lot of people who are like the Mandalorian. Like I saw people talking about the episode that dropped now. Oh, the Mandalorian was just great. I guess now I got to go sit through the Rise of Skywalker. Like, there are some people that I guess the Mandalorian is just been so good. Like, it's almost like NXT versus Monday Night Raw. Like,
Just about to say that, yeah.
Last Wednesday's NXT, that was awesome. Okay, now I gotta watch Raw. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a takeover.
Yeah. Like, these last couple movies have been such a turnoff to the audience.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's at the point now where the franchise is at a point where there's no going back? Because it feels like the last couple movies have been so panned. Is it at a point where it can't come back?
You know the problem?
Hello?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you, David.
You're catering to two... It's like they gotta cater to two different audiences.
Sure.
I'm 43 now, so I grew up on the original trilogy, the original three: Luke, Han, Leia, Darth Vader, 3PO, R2-D2. So you've got that base that you need to cater to, that wants everything to stay true to how it was, especially coming out of, I wouldn't say Revenge of the Sith, and I give Phantom Menace a pass because everything needs a starting point, but when you've got people looking at, like, Attack of the Clones as, like, the worst fucking thing you ever did to this franchise,
yeah,
you've got to hit a home run. You've got to hit a home run. And, but then you've got the new younger generation, and how do you market 60-year-old Han Solo? How do you market 60-year-old gray-haired Luke Skywalker? How do you market 60-year-old Princess Leia?
Mm-hmm.
You can't. But you can market...
Jack, don't get you so far.
Yep.
You can market Finn, Kylo, Poe, BB-8. Those things are marketable, and it's just like... It was impossible. You know what it comes down to? If I'll bet you $50 to $1, if you would have had one director, whether it was JJ, Tourneau, or even Johnson, who should get nowhere near a fucking Disney movie ever again. But if you had one of those guys, and you had one director for all three movies, this would have flowed a million times smoother.
Yep.
Than it has, because, listen, you, me, and David could all like the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if we got to do 3 parts of it, there's no guarantee we're going to work hand in hand.
Yeah.
David's going to do his thing. You might have your vision. I'm going to have my ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no, like, it didn't flow, you know? It didn't flow into any type of continuity. Like, a perfect example is the beginning of The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of Force Awakens, they beat the First Order.
Yep.
Now, Last Jedi is supposedly happening literally at the same exact moment Force Awakens ends because of the island scene. Yet how the hell is there a starship fight going on with these bombers and destroyers and all this 10 seconds after you just blew up what was that thing? Star Killer Base.
Yeah. There's so many... How is that happening? Yeah. It doesn't make sense. To go back to your analogy from earlier, like with NXT and the main roster, it's like you're having a different creative director or executive director, whatever the fuck they're calling it now, a different writer for every episode of Raw leading up to a pay-per-view. Like they have Eric Bischoff writing one episode of Raw and then Bruce Pritchard the next week and then back to Eric Bischoff the next week. It's like there's such a lack of consistency that it's hard to care about any of these characters. Like
and along the way you had Heyman say, "Fuck this, I'm out."
Yeah, exactly.
Because Pritchard fucked up what Bischoff did so bad. Because that's what happened.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened.
All over everything JJ did. You could almost see the direction of where JJ was going, and then here came Johnson, and, Johnson apparently had his own vision because he knew he was getting this trilogy, whatever, and Johnson turned around and said, "No, I'm going to make it all about the little boy with the broom at the end of the movie." Like, dude, and I'm going to kill Luke Skywalker along the way. Dude, fuck you.
Yeah. It's so dumb.
Here comes JJ after Tourneau fucking leaves, gets fired, whoever word you want to believe. And here comes JJ, and he's got to clean all this shit up. This is what I heard one review, and this is not a spoiler thing. I know I'm jumping, but I heard it's just so fast-paced, and it's a lot, because you could almost feel like JJ had to do 2 movies in one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Especially...
And that's hard. That's hard to pull off.
Yeah. It definitely is. I mean, there were so many parts of Last Jedi that there was such a disconnect, like you said. Like, when you think they're building up Snoke to be the big bad in the franchise, he gets killed off right towards the end of the movie. That made absolutely no sense to me. Or the part where Leia almost died, but she didn't, I also thought was way too far-fetched to even believe in.
Oh, Leia Poppins?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm Leia Poppins, Joe.
Oh, it's so stupid. Do you think...
What pissed me off the most about The Last Jedi,
yeah.
I'll be honest with you, and again, this is probably the old school trilogy in me, was when the whole spiel was about anybody can use the Force.
Yes, exactly.
Everybody. Anybody can do anything with it. No, fuck you. You need to be a fucking Jedi, fucking master to use the Force. I'm from the freaking post office down the block cannot use the Force.
Yeah.
Like, no. Right. Like, what the fuck?
Oh. Jeez, it's crazy. It's crazy. There were just so many issues with Last Jedi that, I mean, I enjoyed the movie for what it was, but there was no denying that there were so many issues with it that David, I'll start with you. Do you think JJ can successfully fix what was broken with The Last Jedi come this next movie? Because like John just said, like it's like he's trying to make 2 movies at once. Do you think he can kind of make up for it, or is it damaged goods at this point?
I wouldn't go as far as to call it damaged goods. I think some could be saved, but yeah, it's going to take more than one to fix it. Yeah.
I think it's going to take more than an appearance from the Emperor to fix this movie. I think people it's cool to see him back, but like that's really... John, do you think that was just an attempt to really appease the old audience and kind of bring them back?
I don't know, because JJ has kind of said at some point the Emperor was always the play, in his vision, that this was all going to circle back this way.
Okay.
I think the problem is that, okay, it's one thing to have an idea, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, okay, I'm going to get here this way. And then Johnson comes in and does his shit, and it's like, it totally fucked up your path. So now you gotta like re-scramble, but yet you're still trying to fit in what you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I need to see the story. I need to know how he comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got thrown down a pit of the Death Star, and the Death Star got blown up. What the?
I know.
Did you get out of that?
Yeah.
To me, the storytelling, the background storytelling, which is going to need to happen early in this movie, okay, is going to be important. If things fail in that, this movie's going to go completely off the fucking rails.
Yep.
But if they can narrow down, this is what happened, I don't know, I used this power, or, I escaped this way, or whatever, I don't know, I don't know how you do it. If you could tell whatever that story's going to be, if you could tell that in a way that's like, okay, I get that. Oh, that's how they did it. All right. Okay, that makes sense. Whatever. Okay. But if you come up with some fucking, like some batshit crazy excuse like, oh, there's 300 versions of me across the galaxy. Right. That was just, my Tuesday version, and... there's no big deal. Like,
I could definitely see them doing that.
You can't do that. You got to nail that, and you have to nail it early. If you don't, like I said, I hate to say it because guys, I can't reiterate stuff. Like, I was raised on this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised on Star Wars, man. Like, and I can't sit there and see my childhood raped and murdered and, pissed on and all that. Like, I've got two reactions ready for Friday night. I'm ready to be like, okay, this was great. I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I might be looking to fucking fight somebody in the parking lot of the movie theater. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, there's
I'm
only
scared
that's
for it to go either way. But that getting back to the original thing, with how it has to make sense,
yeah.
and it has to be done early. You can't be 2 hours into this movie, and no matter what story they're telling, no matter how good it is, be like, how the fuck did he come back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You need to come in strong and let the people know that yes, we fucked up, and just go from there. Bring everybody that you lost back because they're gonna see it regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean the fact that they're talking about 450 million this weekend, during the with the Christmas break. I mean they're expecting big numbers early. I mean. That's not going to be exactly. Everybody who sat there and bitched about The Last Jedi and even bitched about Solo is going to be the first ones there, at 7 o'clock to see that. And, you can either win. You won't win 100% of the people back.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you win 50% of the people you pissed off, odds are half of that's probably going to go back and see it again. Because if it's the type of movie that's going to be bang, 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 everything, something is happening all the time, odds are you're going to need to see it a second time just to make sure you caught everything. This way, like a week down the road, you're not having a conversation with friends. Oh, man, what about when da-da-da happened? Wait, when did that happen? Oh, it happened, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you know what? Shit, there was so much going on, I must have missed that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how I felt with Endgame.
Exactly.
I had to see it 2 or 3 times because there was just so much going on, even before you got to the big finale, that it would be simple to be like, wait, what? Like, why did she go to Japan to get Hawkeye? Like, yeah, that's right. Shit, okay,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely one of those movies you're going to have to see multiple times. I saw Endgame 3 extra times just so I could see Howard the Duck and the big final fight scene at the end there. And once I saw that, I was satisfied.
Final fight scene?
What'd you say?
Yeah, you catch them for like 2 seconds.
It's literally like a half a second. Howard the Duck is in the scene when everyone's coming out of the portals. You see him for like a split. It's on YouTube if you want to look it up.
Okay, I gotta check that out.
I know it's funny, but I know. I think this is going to be one of those movies that people see multiple times, regardless of what their thoughts on it were. I think even people that are like, "Wow, that was such a piece of shit. I have to go back and poop on it again," are going to go see it twice. So the movie's going to make money regardless. But it feels like, like I said earlier, it feels like the same buzz that was there 4 years ago isn't there. Like going into Force Awakens, people were so hyped to see Star Wars come back for the first time since technically 05, since Revenge of the Sith, but really since the original trilogy 30 years earlier, because they were bringing back, Leia and Luke and everyone else, Han Solo. Do you think at this point, David, I'll start with you. Where's your anticipation level, like your fandom for Star Wars? Because a lot of people were excited back in 2015. Were you one of those people at that time where like, oh, it's going to blow, and then it did? Or were you excited and now you're not as excited? Where does your fandom stand with Star Wars at the moment?
I went into it with like, all right, not expecting it, like, oh, this is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because not saying that my anticipation was high, but it was good. Like, it did, like, make me want more, but then as it went on, and then we get to The Last Jedi, that's when me and my friends and a bunch of everybody else were just like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, people are going to see this new one regardless, whether they're going to shit on it or whether, they secretly like it, but they don't want to tell people they like it. It's going to make a lot of money regardless. Mm-hmm. But as far as me, from then to now, I haven't completely abandoned it. I'm still with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to abandon it because I'm just not that guy.
Yeah.
But I will admit my anticipation has gone a little bit down, but I haven't bailed. I haven't abandoned it yet.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Hopefully they can stay true to the saga and stay true to the story come Friday, and they can either get some of those people back, best case scenario, or not lose more fans. I guess we'll say that much, but I'm kind of in the same boat. But John, what about with you, and also with you too, your son? Like, how has your son reacted to the movies in the years that you've been bringing him to see these films?
he loved Endgame. I mean, we did our Trunk or Treat theme based on Endgame. He loved Endgame.
Nice.
Star Wars he's been into quietly for a couple of years. He's had the toy. We've been watching the movies, getting to set up getting into for this. So, but he, like I said, he's Kylo. He's Finn. He's BB-8. He's those guys. Yeah, he likes
like
Darth Vader.
the new ones, yeah.
Yeah, he likes Darth Vader because they also have like the Lego Star Wars cartoons, and the way they like position Darth Vader, is still pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But like, my son's not beating down the wall for me to get him something from Han Solo. Although we went to go see Solo together, but he's not, chasing me down to get him the new Han Solo figure.
Mm-hmm.
But oh, listen, hey, there's a new Kylo, Daddy. Can I get that? Oh, okay. That's what it is. So, he's the reason why I'm not going at night. I'm going to go with him during the day, and I hope he enjoys it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully so. Looking forward to seeing what his reaction is in the movie. And, of course, in addition to ourselves and everyone else, kind of a somewhat unrelated note to the movie itself, but on the Star Wars topic, you mentioned kind of the action figures and stuff like that. Have you played the new Battlefront games, John? And if so, what were your thoughts on them?
Not yet, because I was afraid. The last time I bought a Star Wars game was when Revenge of the Sith came out.
Oh, wow, that's a long time ago.
It came out, well, yeah, but here my reasoning. It came out like 2 weeks before the movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
It had movie footage in the game of all the big parts in the movie.
What the fuck?
Yeah, like, you go in, and it's exactly the movie. Like, the first part of the game, you gotta rescue Palpatine. So,
yeah.
Here I am. When you beat Count Dooku, what does it do? It cuts to the cutscene of Anakin killing Count Dooku. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I guess it was my fault for continuing to play the game after I saw that. Oh yeah, I knew he killed Mace Windu. I knew he did that. I knew that how Obi-Wan beat Grievous. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
What? I remember.
So I feel like whenever these games came out close to the movie, I was so scared to get them because I didn't want the movie ruined.
Yeah, that makes sense. I remember the game, dude. I remember the game and like the final fight scene with Anakin and with Obi-Wan and how they fight over the lava and shit like that. I remember the game, but I did not know that it came out before the movie. How dumb could they be? Yeah. That makes no sense.
Yeah, it came out like 2 weeks. It came out 2 weeks before.
Wow, that's crazy.
Like, all right, I'm gonna get it because whatever, it's a Star Wars, whatever, and I just sat there horrified in my living room. I was like, oh my God. Like,
that is insane.
You could tell they weren't just stuff done for the game. Like, you could tell they were moving scenes. They weren't just like cut scenes for a video game that you would get sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They were They were seeds from the movie. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I pretty much just saw the whole movie.
Yeah, if the internet was...
Maybe it was my fault for, what you call it, keep playing after like the first few times, but I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like,
that's crazy. Have you or your son played the Lego Star Wars games? They used to be my shit when it came out 10 years ago.
No, but he likes the Lego Star Wars stuff.
Yeah. No, those are good games. Those are good games.
Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
But the good thing is those come out after the fact now.
Yes.
Like, I know the one for Force Awakens came out like 6 months after the movie did.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. Like, but yeah, I've been a little jaded since that Revenge of the Sith game.
I don't blame you at all. David, what about you? What have been your history with the Star Wars video games, and have you played Battlefront at all?
No, I have not. I haven't played any of those, to be honest.
Wow. I only played the new Battlefront games a little bit. I love the original ones that came out around, like John was saying, around the prequel trilogy about 10 years ago. I've a little played like the newer games, but they're good. But yeah, thankfully now, like John had said, they're coming out with the games after the fact, so they don't feature spoilers for the movie, which still blows my mind to this day. But as we wind down here, we'll close out with some quick TLC thoughts at the end of the episode. But real quickly, though, in regards to Star Wars, closing it out, David, I'll start with you. Any final predictions? What you see going down in Rise of the Skywalker when it comes out this weekend?
I have no predictions because I'm one of the few going into it just to see what happens.
Sure.
Like,
Okay.
I don't want to predict something and it doesn't happen, and then I'm just kind of like, ugh. Or I don't want to like think something and it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna watch it and enjoy it and see where it goes.
Nice.
But hopefully it goes somewhere good.
Hopefully. That's a good approach, because I've been having my roommate from college would text me all these things like, oh, I hear this was going to happen or this. I'm like, dude, I'd rather not know, because I'd rather just enjoy it for what it is. And if it is something bad, I'd rather just shit on it then when I see it, as opposed to, beforehand and have it spoiled. So I hate spoilers. So hopefully, hopefully it's one of those things where it just ends up being better than expected. Because if you go in with zero expectations, it might be better than you think it might be, as opposed to expecting a bad movie and it ends up being bad because you want it to be bad type of thing. If that makes sense. Or you go in with lofty expectations, it's not as good. So I think that's a good approach to take. But John, you said earlier you had 2 grand predictions. What are they for Rise of Skywalker? Or no, you said reactions. I'm sorry, not predictions, right?
Yeah, I said I would have 2 reactions because, I'm not jaded going in. Like, I'm prepared for what it is. Like, it's the end of 40 years. It's basically Endgame for Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense of what it represents. I'm not saying I expect it to be as good as Endgame. I mean, if it is, great, but if not, okay, whatever, it happens. But what I'm looking forward, I don't need you to clean up Last Jedi, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is at this point. Just make everything make sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I needed to do. And also, I'm kind of holding out hope that, and I have done my darndest to stay away from reviews. Like, I was pissed with that last trailer Disney release that showed a certain something.
Mm-hmm.
I was pissed about that because I felt like that gave away a lot. I've done my best not to really know much other than the basics.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You want to win people. You want to really win people over? Go Swerve City and have. If there's 10 things that need to happen, and people think all 10 things are going to go right, have one of them go left.
Mm-hmm.
Do something that, people haven't been calling was going to happen since April. Go hook left with something. I don't know what, but just go a different direction with something. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, let's see what it does. I don't think I'm going to hate it. I'd be shocked if I did, especially with JJ.
Mm-hmm.
At the helm, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. I'm very, I'm excited. I really am. I'm not buying into the critic stuff. There are people that hate things just for the sake of hating it, and then there are people that say things are the greatest thing ever, and it's nowhere near it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a proponent of this with everything, and this can tie into, the wrestling side of it as well. You could read about something, but the way it reads doesn't necessarily translate the way it shows.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
so you could read a review, and just because, Bill Smith didn't like the movie for whatever reason, don't not like it because Bill Smith told you he didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, have your own opinion on it.
Yeah, you didn't like it. It's the same thing with us. Like, WWE did that? It must be bad. Did you watch it? Well, no, I read, so-and-so.
Right.
What? Because I used to have a buddy when, they would tape SmackDown, and you get the SmackDown spoilers on a Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God, SmackDown looks like garbage. Wait till it fucking was on Thursday. See what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then don't tell me it's garbage, That's why, it's so, everyone gives me shit. Oh, you're so anti-AEW and so up Vince's ass. I'm not anti-AEW, and I'm not living up Vince's ass.
Mm-hmm.
But if I ask you, you tell me, Raw was garbage last night. Oh, yeah? What didn't you like when you watched it? Oh, I didn't watch it. I read quick results online. Okay, so you read a quick sentence that said, AJ Styles beat Cedric Alexander. That's all you read, and because you read that, you didn't like it all the time. Like,
Right.
you know, Chris Jericho walked past the security guard. The security guard's made for life. No, fucking watch how the segment played out. Like, come on.
Yeah, there's way too much of that in 2019 where people just
You know.
read about how things are, but they don't actually watch it. Because like you said, when people read, for example, like the spoilers for Star Wars, I mean, I haven't read anything like you guys. I stay away from that stuff.